think we're ready. We're on to season 2.
Wow. We're here.
We're here with the beautiful Staci Ferguson. I was introduced to her about a couple months ago. Let's just be straightforward. Her story is insane. There's no other way to put it. And she's overcome a lot of adversity in her life. She is certified. What's the exact title of your coaching? Is it a life coach or certified life coach or
spiritual life coach?
Spiritual life coach. So she's overcome. You're going to hear some obstacles that are out of a movie. So it's right when I heard her story, I'm like, we got to get you on the podcast, because a lot of people, like people that watch our show, we have, the professional athletes, the millionaire CEOs, but a lot of people relate to the everyday person. And that's been our biggest response is we had Luke Hovis on. Lucas Hovis, he was a guy that went to prison, or almost went to prison, went to jail, started a $1 million business with an ankle bracelet. And that was one of our highest ratings of anything, which is pretty crazy. Because the next one was, we had Andre Feely, we had Eric Bakhtiari, Tom Brady's dad, like all these huge guys, and that was our biggest rating. So we're excited to have you on there. I know you're a little nervous over here, but you're fine. You're fine.
She's been freaking out, man.
She's been freaking out in the corner. But before I forget, I almost forgot already. This episode is brought to you by Exclusive Pharmaceuticals CBD. So if I could do like a little wink and then like the little, the white teeth kind of thing, that's what I would do. But it's now available at NutriShop, at where else? Grocery Outlet, West Coast Nutrition, and hopefully Walmart and Target, so I never have to do this show again with him.
That'd be awesome.
Just kidding.
That'd be the best.
Amazon?
No, Amazon. So the thing with Amazon, they make you do like hemp. You can't say CBD on it, and there's all these rules and returns. It's a nightmare. So, but we're excited to have you on the show, and it's very brave of you, because I know you've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yes.
And the time has come, and you'll be fine. We're just a couple of friends talking about
me,
your insane life. But let's start. Start from the beginning. Where'd you grow up? How'd you end up where you're at now?
So I was born here in Sacramento. Lived here until I was about 11, and then moved to Seattle, Washington, and was there until I was 19. And then came back because this is home. Yeah.
And then, so you're in Seattle, what age?
11 to 19. So junior high to high school.
And so when did things start to get crazy for you? Because this seems like when you told me, I was like, there's no way. And then you would tell me another part of it. I'm like, no way. And then this happened, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, I don't know how it's just amazing. She's also a mom of 4 boys, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is an incredible feat in itself. But where did this, start when your life was just kind of unraveling and all these things were happening to you? Because we know what's sitting before us, right? We know the strong woman, the beautiful mother, all of that. But how did you get from there to where you are today? Like when did everything start happening?
Okay. So I had my son Roland in 2017. So I was 27. It was a pretty rough pregnancy, labor, all of that was pretty rough. We both almost died during that whole process. Yeah. I lost a lot of blood, and he just almost didn't make it. But we did. And then about a week after, no, that's not true. 6 weeks after, it was like the postpartum checkup, I just lost it. She was like, how are you? And I was like, I'm not good. And so I had postpartum depression, really bad. And from there, it just kind of catapulted into this insane part of my life.
So you said you're 27 at that point?
Yes.
And then the postpartum thing's huge, right? It is. I hear it all the time. Obviously, I'm a guy. I'll never experience that.
Yeah.
You will when I move away. That's the only thing that'll be That'll be the closest thing. He'll be
Mr.
freaking
Baby.
out, man. Just walking around the house, talking to nobody,
Tim,
hoping someone will tell the joke.
Where's Tim?
But
it's a real thing. Like I've heard it, I've seen it. Explain to guys like us, like what is it like? Is it because you have no sleep, right? You're trying to raise a baby. What is it like? Like how can you explain it in layman's terms to a couple guys here?
Well, it affects every woman differently. I mean, some women have it like they have psychosis where they aren't sure that things are real. Mine was middle. So Roland, my son, he slept fine. It was more about me. And I was just trying to continue on in a life I wasn't happy in. So I was just doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. Like I was just trying to keep going. So it was like I didn't want him to go anywhere. I wanted him with me all the time. And some women experience where they don't want their baby near them at all. So it everyone's kind of different. With my situation, I wanted him with me. I didn't want him to be away from me. I was just sad. I was pretending to be happy. I was pretending, putting on a face, just kind of faking it until I made it kind of thing, fake it till you make it. And it was more like when the doctor asked me, like, are you okay? Like, how are you? Pretty much. I was just a mess.
Like, I'm not okay,
I'm
doc.
like, I'm actually not okay at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with me. I just am sad. I mean, I'm getting up, I'm getting dressed, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not happy. And I don't know why. Like, I should be happy, right? I have my baby. Like, I was just so sad. And I couldn't get out of it. I didn't know how to get out of it.
it is really just, I think a lot of people have been familiar with depression. I mean, this definitely has all the telltale signs, the not being able to do certain things, not feeling like yourself, but also not being able to pinpoint what you're dealing with because it's just sort of a full body depression. You know what I mean? It's not just my brain. It's like you literally feel lethargic. You feel tired. You don't want to do anything. I am curious though. This wasn't your first child, right? Was this number 2 or 3?
3.
So this was your third child. So you had already gone through the process twice. What do you think was so different about this one? Was it because it was maybe such a traumatic birth because of all the blood loss? Because it sounds like, I mean, you've been through this process before, so it would seem like it would be easier. But what do you think hit on this one in particular?
Or maybe you just had 3 kids. I mean,
I mean that.
We're outnumbered.
Right,
It's
know,
over.
right?
Yeah.
I see buddies with like 1 kid and they're like,
yeah.
holy shit, what did I just sign myself up for?
What's going on?
So 3 could be, I mean, I wonder if it's like, I mean, overwhelming too, right?
I had my oldest when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point he was older, he was helpful. He was 10. So he was helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, Noah, my now 10-year-old, he was not even 3 yet. So it wasn't really that. I think it was circumstantial. I think it was my situation kind of was what I meant. Like I was just not in a good situation. I don't really know. Honestly, I think it was that on top of the pregnancy was really hard. Like I was having a hard time with it. It was just hard to go. It was hard to do anything. It was like I was just so tired and miserable and sad all the time,
Yeah.
even during the pregnancy. And
So even this pregnancy was different than the other ones. It
Very.
wasn't just simply the after effects. It was the during effects.
Yes, it
Interesting.
was. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What in particular, like with this pregnancy, was worse? Was it more a matter of like, you're not able to sleep as well? Do you think it was more a matter of just, I don't know, maybe he was kicking a lot, a very active baby? I honestly don't. I've never had a human being inside of me.
I know it's something.
Or have
like
I? Anyway.
Maybe I have.
Or have I?
Or have I?
Does pagan count? But yeah.
I mean, kind of.
Interesting topic. We go from children to
right,
pegging. This is how we do it here. But yeah. So anyway, so I'm sorry to get into this, but yeah, this is fascinating me because I figured this would have been from your first childbirth and then you move forward. But this was, after you've already been an established mother, and so this is interesting. Like you say, there might not be a good reason for it. It might not be any particular thing that was different. I'm just curious because it does seem like there had to be something different amongst this process that, got you in this mindset, or at least that that made you feel a certain way, I guess. I don't know. I'm just trying to kind of understand a little bit better, but I can't, you know what I mean? I can only sort of understand. I can get an idea of what you're talking about, but I can't know what it's like to carry someone inside of me.
I mean, it kind of looks like
it does, but I'm saying I'm still just eating for one person, like for someone else, and then they're out of your body, and then it's like, I'm sure that's very strange, like the first time you eat, you're like, oh my God, I'm eating this. I'm, digesting this. It's not. So, I mean, I guess that's gotta be a weird situation just in general, but like I said, you've done it before. And then, I mean, I'm glad to hear you did do it again. You did have another child after. So what got you from the postpartum depression to being able to say, you know what, I'm ready to do this again? What was the big difference there?
I think just experience where I was at in my life. I was ready and I was more grounded with who I was as a person. And it was a totally different experience. Way calmer. I had him at home. It was just very mellow. I didn't do any hospital visits. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go about it today.
So you did an at-home birth?
I did.
Like the bathtub, like the whole bit?
Yes, my second water birth.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
So I'm a hypochondriac, right? So like for me, having a human come out of me, which is impossible, but I mean, who knows? Sure? Who knows? Yeah. We'll see in 20 years. But I would freak out, especially if you had the baby with it was your third baby with the excess blood, right?
Yes.
So I would be freaking out. I'd be like, I want to go to the hospital. Where's the doctor? So you had no fear. You're just like,
fear. None. No. And I'm a redhead. And so I found out that we're bleeders. Apparently, ginger, whatever.
Yeah.
So
another one for the gingers.
I know. Just another added on to the list. It's like tally it up. But yeah, so no, I had no fear.
Really?
I didn't know. I just knew, like, I don't know. It's maybe my spiritual connection with him. I don't know. It was just very calming. Like whenever I'd feel something, I'd worry about something, I would feel like, okay, it's okay. Like I would look down at my belly and I was like, okay, we're good.
It's mother's intuition or something.
I was very connected to him and just in a different way than I was with my other three. Not that I wasn't connected with my other three, because I was, just differently.
Yeah, you've been there before. So when did, excuse my language, when did the shit hit the fan?
Well, before that. So
okay.
Yeah. So so after my son Roland, which was 2017, my postpartum depression, and then I got better. So, but I wasn't really, I think, better. I think I was just kind of going through the motions of life. I had to keep going. I had 3 kids now, right? So I had to keep going. I was working. I was like, okay, here I go. 2019.
That was the year. Well, COVID was 2020?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when it got real bad.
Okay.
2019 is really when everything kind of started to kind of catapult.
And so what happened? Like, what was and I know this is some heavy topic, right? And we are very sensitive to that. And I know it's a really brave subject to talk about. You've never talked about it before.
Ever.
So yeah, if you need to take a couple seconds or a break, our editors can do their thing. So I wouldn't stress about it. But we applaud you for doing this. I think you can help a lot of people out that are dealing with these struggles. So, okay, 2019.
Yes. So 2019, I had an addiction to Norco. I was in a car accident, hurt my back, and it just kind of escalated from there. I was in an unhappy situation. I wasn't in a good place in my life. And that was kind of a crutch in a way. Kind of just let me, I don't know. I didn't understand it. I was like, oh, my back hurts, And then when I was coming off it, I'm like, oh,
I feel great.
What's going on? No. Yeah. But then it was like, I feel awful because I need it, And then it became this kind of addiction. That's what it became. So that is really what started it, I would say, was taking that excessively, more than I should have been, honestly. And then, so it was like the end of 2019, I would say, that kind of was going on. And I was feeling myself kind of spiraling. And I kind of hold everything in, right? At that time in my life, I would just kind of hold it in. I'm like, I'm not going to talk about it. It's fine. I'll just, whatever, it'll go away. So then January of 2020, I get a phone call from my father that my stepmother had taken her life. And
so sorry.
I was not in the place to to receive that, but I had to. So I had to go to pick him up, and he was 4 hours away. And he came to live with me. And then everything kind of went worse after that, because he was living there. I had my 3 kids, and I was just trying, I don't know, I was just trying to numb myself out. So then I got put on Valium for anxiety, and that's when I got really bad. So the Valium kind of took over my whole life.
And I feel we've heard the story before in season 1, same thing, broken back, pain pills, and people don't realize, like, you watch these shows like Intervention, and you're like, how can you even get to that spot? But now with pain pills, because when I played football in college, I had probably 10 teammates addicted to opiates after, I went to a Christian college, and these guys were good dudes, but you don't know, you don't think about it. You just start popping these pills, and you're popping heroin is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Know? So we had a girl, season 1, same thing. She, what was that? It's kratom. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
But now kratom's a whole nother, it's a whole nother, there's issues with kratom now. But the scary thing with opiates is you unknowingly, you trust the doctor, you're in pain, and you just pop them, and it makes you feel better.
Yeah, they're like, here you go.
Yeah, and then
like, okay.
And then they take it away, and you're like, wait a minute, like, So we get it. We've dealt with it even on the show, season 1. Remember we talked about it with Whitney, and it's a quick slope, because you can just go from pills. Okay, the pills are gone, and you don't care. You need anything to get your hands on, and it's happening with athletes. It's a big problem. And what I really wanted when I got into CBD, and I got into there's some psychedelic cannabis gummies that really help with pain. And my mission is when I go into these doctor's office, I go to like the big pharma. They'll never meet with me. They don't care. But like the boutique doctors, the testosterone doctors, I'm like, this is going to help with their pain. It's natural. Quit, and they know it. Quit, prescribing opiates for these guys, and it really does work, and it's natural.
Yeah. So
that's my little rant on basically marijuana, cannabis, compared to opiates. It's not even the same building. It's what doctors should be doing. They should be prescribing cannabis, and they should be illegal. All the opiates and all that, they should just throw them away.
I agree.
Yeah.
I tend to agree, although if I'm going in for surgery, I want some freaking opiates pumped into me hardcore. I want all that stuff.
But to bring home with you.
Exactly. Like, and I was going to say, you were talking about certain ones, like Norco's a muscle relaxer, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, it's a painkiller.
Painkiller. Okay. Because I was going to say, I had a similar thing where I had a back issue, and I started taking some really good drugs. These were muscle relaxers at the time, Flexeril, which is still one of my absolute favorites. Like, because I just so you know, I have trouble sleeping. Sleeping's always my thing, especially when I'm on medication. It just for some odd reason doesn't work.
Yeah, right.
I took a Flexeril, and I was like, whoa! I just melted into the bed. It was one of the best feelings ever. And so I totally get it. And a lot of my friends have had issues with Norco and with other painkillers and things like that. And almost all of them are people who are suffering from chronic pain for one reason or another, usually a back issue or things like that. And I get it, because you're in pain. You're, waking up out of bed. You're like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. You take a pill, and 30 minutes later, you're like, oh my gosh, I can move around a little bit. I can do this. But my thing is, when the pain tends to go away, why are we still taking the pills, And so I knew guys that were taking 8 a day, and I mean, just going through the regular daily thing, going to work, driving, like all these things. And it's like, you get used to it because it doesn't attack you the way alcohol and other drugs attack you. You know what I mean? Like when when you've had a lot to drink and you stand up, whoa, that feeling is so different. But you don't really feel that when you're on painkillers. It's just really more of like, okay, this is how I feel, and now I'm moving on. You know, like it becomes such a background thing that it's there, but you don't realize that you need it until you start running out of pills and you're down to the last pill and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I understand that process. I've seen people have to battle it. And I think in many ways it's harder than, you know, alcohol and things like that. You have to go to a place to go get that, get a doctor is telling you this is what's better for you. This is what you need to be able to get through the day. Well, why wouldn't I want to keep doing that? And so I understand that that's a really hard thing to deal with. And especially with having kids around too. And, I'm sure you were picking up things here and there and your back was all beat up and, just everything you're doing day to day, you're sore from doing all that. So that helps. So,
and then, you go from opiates, and then what do they give you Valium for anxiety?
So I was taking, when you said 8 a day, just to back her, I took 30 a day.
Damn.
At a time.
And you were functional.
Yes. How I didn't die, I don't know.
30 a day.
What did you start with?
They had, it was 10 milligrams, which is, I guess, I don't know. At this point, I think it was like the highest at the time. I think it was 6. And then I would take a couple more because they weren't working. You build a tolerance. Yeah. And I'd take more. I was taking 30 at a time.
At a time.
And you were functional.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, mentally, no. Looking back, no, I was not at all. But yes.
And how did you get 30 pills?
Well, my doctor prescribed me like 180 a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was just taking. Yeah.
Which is an average of 6 a day, but then you're
6, 7 a day. Yeah. About that. Yeah.
But so you're like, no, let's do that in a week. Like, I'm an overachiever.
Yeah.
So what happens when you run out of pills?
I bought them.
Friends. Yeah. And that can be very expensive.
Yeah. And dangerous.
You don't know what's actually in those pills.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm being honest and vulnerable. I would just buy them.
And to trust.
Yeah.
From a drug dealer.
You
got to though. You don't care.
A friend. And I would just take them and like, okay, it's fine. I'm good now.
And then you went to Valium for anxiety, or was that okay?
So after my stepmom had passed, I was just like, my dad was there and my kids, I was just like, oh gosh, what do I do? And so she's like, here's Valium. And I was like, oh, well, what is that? And took that and I was like, I don't feel a damn thing.
Yeah.
Give me more of that.
I was like, I don't feel anything. I'm not thinking because my brain, I was always feeling everything. I always so emotional and I was so done feeling. So I was just taking the Valium as prescribed. And then it turned into not as prescribed.
Got it.
When everything got a lot.
I'm glad you described it as you did, because I remember taking Valium for, I think it was when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and I just remember being in a fog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes. and I was going to say that's how it felt to me, was like everything was kind of dull and kind of fuzzy, you know, and like, I was hearing things, but I wasn't, it was sort of like I was present, but I was more watching myself interact with people, like almost a out of body experience. And so, so how many of those were you taking now?
So I was prescribed 2 a day.
Okay.
And I was taking that. So then I want to fast forward to March when COVID hit.
Pandemic time.
Yes. So my kids were all home at that time. And I was like, oh gosh. And I was starting to take more. So I was prescribed 10 milligrams twice a day. So I started taking 4. And then I started taking 5. And then 6.
So you're an overachiever.
Apparently, man. Apparently. And so, and then I would go out and I would go drinking and I wouldn't remember things. Like I would, like, people were like, yeah, you were saying this, you were acting this way. And I'm like, what? No, what are you talking about? No, I wasn't. But you kind of start to, I don't know, I want to say almost hallucinate, but also you don't remember. You forget. Like you completely, I blacked out for 10 days straight. So I don't remember.
Wow.
There's like 10 days I don't have any memory. I mean, I do now. I know now I remember. But at the time.
It was just a blur.
People were telling me things and I'm like, what? Yeah. I did that? Oh, crap. Okay. So it came to where I was taking 100 milligrams at a time.
Jeez. Yeah.
With also with the painkillers.
Yes.
Wow. So now we're talking about Norco and Valium.
Yes.
That's a lot. And it sounds like you were going out and doing things too. Were you drinking along with us? Yeah. So you were feeling great.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Feeling great and miserable at the same time, but still like, I mean, I just body wise here, I'm sure you were just like, oh my God, I just feel so free right now. I'm just so relaxed. Let's go. Let's have another drink. Yeah. I haven't had a whole week of blackouts, but I have, I used to drink a lot of Jack Daniels back in the day. And I swear my blackouts used to happen constantly. And it is one of those things when you're in a blacked out state, you're going on fumes. Like, it's not really you anymore. It's sort of a version of you. And it sounds like that's very similar to what was going on here, where you're kind of going through the motions, but you're not even aware that you're doing it. No, I mean, that's scary. How did you realize that 10 days had gone by and you like just didn't even realize they happened? Like, where did this happen? Someone's talking to you like, hey, remember yesterday we did that thing? You're like, no, I didn't. Like,
well,
yes, you did. What?
So,
what day is it?
Like,
October.
What year?
I know. So it was May of 2020. And
okay, well, that's understandable. We all went through like weeks at a time where nothing happened.
I know.
So yeah.
Well, this was I was doing this for a while, and you know, things happened in my life, and my dad like left and went back to where he was living, and I had my kids, and I just was, I don't know. I don't even, I think what happened from, this is kind of fuzzy still, even though it's been 4 years now. I fell asleep on the phone with my sister, and she was really concerned, and everyone was concerned about me. And then the next day I went like insane. Like, I just lost my mind and did some really awful things to a lot of people, hurt a lot of people that I wish I would not have, but I didn't know I was really doing it at the time. I was just angry and I was reacting, and I also was not in my head. Like, I was not okay. So next thing I know, I have an officer serving me it was a temporary restraining order, a TRO. You can't be around your kids. And I was like, what? Wait, what? So my family took me on a 5150, and I was there, and then I thought I was there for an hour. I was there all day.
Do you remember anything you did, or?
I do.
You don't want, I
do remember some things I did.
Like completely out of character.
Very out of character. Yeah. Not something I would do. Not something like me, who I am, the person that I am, would never do. It was. But nobody really understood that at the time. I don't think anyone really knew what I was taking and what I was doing. They were like, oh, she's freaking insane. She's bipolar. She's crazy. Like, get her help. But nobody was like, I was screaming for help, but no one could hear me, you know? And so I was just, I don't know, kind of floating, like you said, out of body, kind of, that's how it was. Like, I was watching myself do these things, but it wasn't me. Like, I was screaming, stop, Staci, what are you doing? But my body was like, no, you're doing this. So when the officer served me, it was like a punch in the face. And I couldn't see my kids, and that was awful. That was terrible. So I went and stayed with somebody in San Francisco for a month. And during that time, this was May, I was still pretty heavily on all these, like, I think I was taking other things at the time even. I now know, but at the time I didn't understand, like, what I was really taking. So I couldn't cope. I couldn't deal with it. I was just like, my kids are gone. I'm alone. Like, what do I do? I had no one, really. So in May of 2020, I took my life. And my friend at the time found me unresponsive on her floor. And she had a personal doctor that she called. It was very hush-hush because she goes, you're going through court. We cannot, like, cause, at this point it was done. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing. So she had called, I guess it was like a concierge doctor. I don't even, I was kind of fuzzy, honestly. And I woke up 2 days later. So my heart had stopped completely for 2 minutes. I was dead. And when I woke up, he was like, well, hi. And I was like, where the fuck am I? And I remember looking around like, what is going on? And I had written notes to all my kids, to all of my family, like everything. And it didn't even look like my handwriting. So I had taken, I believe it was Valium, Norco, Klonopin, Clonidine.
Yeah.
And something else. I don't remember what that was. I think it might have been Flexerol actually. Honestly, I think that's what it was. I think so.
Let's not put any bad word on Flexerol here. All right. That stuff is good. It makes you just want to sleep. All right. It doesn't, not a long sleep. Not the long sleep, but yeah.
So do you even remember consciously being like, hey, I want to take my life? Or was it just a fog? Like it was like when you came to, did you look at the letters and like, what did I do?
Yes. So when I came to, I was like, the doctor was looking at me and he goes, you were dead. Like, hi. He goes, you should not be alive. The amount of drugs that were in your system, you should not be here right now. You have a second chance at life and you need to take it. And I was like.
So he didn't take you to the hospital or anything? He just.
Everything was done there. It was like, this person that I knew at the time. It was very hush hush. She had the contacts to do that.
Okay.
So everything was brought to me. Everything. And I didn't know. I mean, I just woke up in this bed and I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
And here I am in San Francisco. I'm like, where are my kids? What's going on? Like, I didn't remember any of the previous 10 days that had happened either. So when I woke up, it was like, am I dead? Like, is this what's going on? Like, I didn't know. So he had told me, the amount of drugs that were in your system. I mean, could I kill the horse? Like, you should not be here. You shouldn't be here. But you are.
I'm really surprised by one thing here, because so you get the TRO and you go to this place in San Francisco. This is a medical kind of thing. No,
this is a friend.
Okay, well that makes sense, because I'm like, why wouldn't they get you off the drugs in the first place? Because I would have figured this was the whole weaning yourself off of the drug phase. So no, you were still deep into it, but now you have the depression of realizing your kids are not here. So
that was the big moment.
I understand that that's got to be the lowest of the low, feeling just, I have these kids. I did everything I could to take care of them, and now I can't even see them. Like, that's hard. And so I understand that must have been extremely painful to go through. I'm glad that you're on the other side, though. Thank God. Right? Or thank just whatever that you're here. Thank your friend for finding you as quick as they did. Thankfully they were able to get you, the resources you needed to bring you back. But wow.
Yeah. And so what happens after that? Jeez, that's like.
So after that happened, so that friend didn't. She wasn't really a friend. She was a client actually, but we became friends, and not anymore. So after that, the doctor was like, you have to get better, and he's like, we'll help you wean off. I'm like, no. I said, I do not want any help. I didn't want any help. I was like, I need to do this on my own. So I went through 3 weeks of withdrawal, and it was horrible.
I'll bet. Cold turkey withdrawal.
It was awful. And he was like, we can give you something. I was like, I don't want anything. It's like when I woke up, I was a different person. Like I always say, like, I had to die to live. That's what I say a lot, because I truly did. Like, I had to hit that rock bottom to be where I am right now. And so during that time, when I came out of it, I was just like, nope. And it was really hard. So it was May 23rd, 2020. I came back here, Sacramento area, and I had to go to court. And I was like, yeah, I did these things, not really have memory of it. And I had supervised visits, which was insane.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not a bad mom. Like, I knew I wasn't a bad mom, but I was just not okay. My kids were always safe, but I was not okay. And so I understand it in hindsight, right, 2020, but like still like could have been different, but it's okay. So when I came back, it was weird because I was not on anything. And it was kind of like this, what they call like a natural high, where you just feel everything, but I was going through therapy, and I was doing all the things I had to do to be the best version of me for myself and for my children. And so that was when everything kind of shifted for me. And I was just like, okay, I have to keep going. And it was hard. I mean, it was not easy. I cried a lot, and I went through a lot of moments where I was like, can I do this? Can I do this? I'm like, yeah, you have to keep going. So, that was May of 23rd. Yeah, 2020. So then that happened. And then I want to say a month. So the tiara was lifted June. It's the 5th. It was lifted June 5th, 2020. I knew this day sounded familiar, and I couldn't remember why it was June 5th. Yeah, that's ironic. Weird. Okay, that's weird. Okay, so
oh yeah, it's the anniversary.
Yeah, it is. Wow, I knew it all day. I'm like, why is this day so familiar? Yeah, that's why. Okay, all right, there it is. So yeah, it was June 5th, and it was lifted, and everything was. I was my oldest son. I got back right away. I had him high school, so it was a different person, different situation. But the other two, because I only had the 3 at the time, it was still supervised until it was lifted. And it wasn't lifted until after Father's Day when my dad had passed.
So wait, your dad?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So Father's Day, June 21st, 2020, I get a phone call from a sheriff that my dad had taken his life.
Jeez.
Yeah, 6 months after my stepmom. So I'm going through all these things, trying to heal, get better, and then my dad is gone.
So your stepmom, yourself, and then your dad. Jeez.
Yeah, within 6 months.
And how do you? So is your first reaction to go back to the drugs, right? To numb it?
No, it wasn't.
But you would think, right? Because you don't want to feel that.
You would think, but I was like, nope, I gotta go. I mean, I cried, I was sad, but I knew I had to just go and handle it. So I did. I went and identified him, got his belongings, did everything I had to do, and came back and just dealt with it. At the time, I don't think I really dealt with it. I was kind of like just going through it. I was mortified. I couldn't understand what he was. I mean, I knew he was not okay and he wasn't, but I was going through my own thing, So I blamed myself for that for a long time. And then, so after he passed, it was just this like whirlwind. I got pregnant with my 4th son. I found out September of 2020. And the same week, my sister was diagnosed with terminal breast cancer. Yeah. So it was a lot in a very short period of time. And then after I had my son Leland, who's now 3, my sister passed 6 weeks later.
Jeez, so sorry about that. Sorry about all your losses. I was going to apologize, first of all, about your father. But yeah, this is a lot for any human being to deal with, let alone someone who's having to deal with physical things themselves. You got on a good point here, and it's one of the things that always bothers me when someone's going through recovery of being addicted to something. It seems like they always want to replace the addiction with something else that you become addicted to. Drives me nuts. I always hate it when I see these people in recovery clinics and they're giving them cigarettes and things like that. I'm like, why don't we give them some like paintbrushes or a guitar or something? Like, get them addicted to something else. But I see people that become addicted to the medication that's supposed to help you get unaddicted, and so it's like I don't like that. And I understand though cold turkey is maybe the more difficult way to go, but I do think it is probably the more natural way to go. I think more often than not, humans, we take things and realize, oh, this isn't good for me, I'm just going to stop it. We don't always have to take something to make us feel that again. You know what I mean? Like I could just stop drinking soda. I don't need to have some kind of, something like that to give me that feeling that I get when I drink the bubbles. You know what I mean? I didn't pour bubbles into my, orange juice or anything like that. But it always seems strange to me, and it seems counterintuitive to give someone who's addicted to something, here's this thing you become addicted to. So first of all, hats off to you for quitting cold turkey, because that's the harder way to go, but it is, I think, the right way to go. It's just better to get rid of it. And you say your brain starts feeling clear again, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure that had to just be like this time. Like, did you have anything that like kind of popped up, memories that started coming back and things like that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I was being told these things. And then when I was in therapy, we would do hypnosis. And so I'd go into hypnosis and then she would bring me there because I completely blocked. I mean, it was blocked. I could not remember for the life of me. And I didn't want to. It was painful, like what I was doing, the things I was doing. So when I was starting to remember, my therapist at the time, she's like, okay, Staci, we're going to do little by little. That way it doesn't all hit you at one time. And so little by little, I'd remember these things I was doing or that I did, and I remember this one time specifically, I had driven I was on, who knows at that time. And I had my kids in the car and I drove to the police station and then I turned back around. I'm like, why did I do that? Like, no, I don't know what I was doing. Like, why? And my son at the time, he was 12, my oldest was 12. And he was like, Mom, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. And he didn't know either. So it was like all these little things were coming out, like little things I was doing, like that didn't make any sense to anyone, including myself. So it was coping with that. It was hard because I'm like, oh man, I did a lot of really terrible things to people. I hurt a lot of people, and including myself. My children had to see that, and that my oldest remembers all that, and so that was hard for me because I didn't want to hurt them. I never wanted to hurt my kids. It was never about putting them in danger or making them feel. It was like I was not good with me. So I couldn't be the best mother I could be because I wasn't the best me that I could be. Yeah. I didn't know how to balance it all.
And so you go through all that, your sister passed. It's just, I feel like when you were telling me the story, I'm like, does it get better? Like what is, I mean, that can't be you're losing, yourself, your dad, your sister, your stepmom. Did you ever feel like, man, maybe the family's doomed, or maybe it's in our DNA, or maybe like did that ever enter your, cause it's gotta, with that much death, I would just be like, man, like maybe my family's cursed. Like maybe like there's something wrong. Like, how did you overcome all this? Like what was the...
So when my sister got sick, she was my best friend. She was 12 years older than I was, and we were very close. Like her birthday was one day before mine, 12 years before. So we were just always very close. So when she got sick, I was with her all the time. We got closer. And when I would say it was about a month before she passed away, she had told me, this is what I want. And I'm like, you're not going to die. Like, what do you mean? I was not even, I knew, but I didn't want to admit that I knew, know. And so she's like, this is how I want my funeral. This is what I want. And I was like, okay. And I just did it. And she went to the hospital July 5th. Well, the 5th of July. And she passed the 11th. But on the last day that I saw her alive was the 9th. And she was laying in her, the hospital bed, and I was next to her, and she goes, okay, Staci, it's your turn now. I was like, Lena, what are you talking about? And she goes, it's your turn. It's your turn now. I go, my turn for what? What are we talking about? Because she was on morphine. I was like, is she just, what's going on? And she goes, take care of Mom. Take care of your boys. Make sure my kids are good. Just be there. Be solid. Like, you're good. You can do this. I know you can. And I was like, okay. She's like, promise me? And I was like, yeah, I promise. Like, not thinking. I'm like, you're not dying. What do you mean? Yeah. And then the next, 2 days later, I was with her when she passed, and she had passed. So that stuck with me. It was, I looked up to her. She was my hero, and knowing that she got to see me be healthy and in a good place where I was at, or getting to that place. I was getting there. I was better. And then her telling me that was like, okay, I have to do this. So I just kept going. There was no stopping me at that point.
And is that when you got in to your career, the spiritual life coaching, or when did that was that right after that, or when did you start that?
I started that in 2014.
Oh, okay. So you've been doing that for a while.
Yeah. And I probably shouldn't have been. Being honest, I should not have been helping anyone. The
blind leading the blind.
Gosh,
right?
I'm all, you can do these things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, take these.
Let me
pills.
prescribe. Exactly.
Gosh.
Things aren't going good here. Try this Valium. It's amazing for me. Yeah.
Take this and take this too. But
you'll forget about it.
I know. But my advice to them was always so good. But I was so messed up. I'm like, gosh, was I okay there. But so I started that in 2014. Yeah. And so then it just got bigger. But I did, after everything had happened with my addiction and, you know, suicide, all those things, I took a break. It was a year. So when my sister was sick, I was just focused on her, my son, like all my sons, but the baby at the time, you know, because she got to meet him, which was
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was really happy she got to meet him. And yeah, so then it was just kind of this, I had to do these things and do better for me to be better for everyone. Because it was, my sister was like the glue. And then when she had passed, she was the oldest. When she had passed, it was like our whole family was just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, nope, this is what she wanted. And I made sure that everything went as she wanted it to go.
And it's probably good. I mean, not that you went through that, but good for your clients now, because you've done all that. It's like when we talk about business, and it's obviously a business, but when you start something, you have to learn every part of it, even the small, you know, the shipping, the communicating, the accounting. You have to know everything so you can divvy it out. But I feel with your situation, you know what they're thinking because you've been there. You've sat in their chair when they talk about suicide, when they talk about sadness, depression. You can sit there and be like, hey, I've been there. And I don't think you designed it that way, but it you know, but it is powerful, because when someone talks to me about business and they've never done it, it's really hard for me to receive it. Or someone talks to me about relationships and they've been in one relationship or they've been divorced 3 times. I'm like, dude, how are you going to give me advice about, you know, and that's really hard for me, is I think you can receive advice. They don't have to have lived it, but it does. There's a lot more weight to it.
Yeah.
You know, but how has that helped your, like, so it's 2014, you've been doing it, what, for 6 years, COVID hits, and then your sister passes. So that's 3 years. So then, then you took a year off. So you're getting right back into it now, right? Is it? Yeah. So 2022, so my sister passes away, and then 22, my brother gets diagnosed with lung cancer. Jeez.
Yes. It's been a rough go.
Is he okay?
Yeah.
Is he okay?
He's okay. He's on treatment, and he's, they call him Rocky, you know, he doesn't let it totally just, he doesn't eat. Yeah. He doesn't even, he heard this, he'd be like, what are you talking? Why are you doing that? But no, he's doing great. He's just, you know, he has his struggles, I'm sure, but he's very private about it. If he does, he doesn't talk about it. So, and I get that. We call it a Ferguson thing, because like we're all stubborn and in our way, and we don't want to talk about things, and we're like, we're fine. Yeah. You know, we're strong. We got this. We can do it. So when he had gotten sick, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to get back into this now. I think this is the time to kind of go. So it was end of 2022. I started, you know, reaching out to older clients like, hey, I'm not crazy anymore. Like, you still want a session? You know, you want to. So they're like, yeah, you're different, you know, and I had new clients too, and I still do. But in 2023, I went through this big shift in my life where I did a lot of healing. Like I call it shadow work. So it's like healing your inner child. So this inner child, inner me that was causing all this havoc, the addiction, all the things was coming out and creating all this mess. And so I was working on that and trying to understand that part of me and know that, hey, you're good, you're safe, you're okay now. You don't need anything. You just keep going. So in doing that and helping myself, I was able to help other people and continue to do that.
And how, where does your practice out, or how can people get a hold of you if they want? They hear this and be like, okay, this girl's been through it. She could probably help me. Like, where would they go?
Well, I had an office that shut down because of COVID. And then I just didn't have one after that. So it's been word of mouth, truly is what it has been. I haven't like been public with it. I haven't marketed myself or anything.
Well,
but I mean,
now you are. Yeah,
now,
sorry.
Yeah.
But no, but I just kind of had my clients that were like, hey, this is Staci and she does this and you should talk to her. So it's just kind of like through who I know.
So if someone's listening to this and wants to get a hold of you, what's do they Instagram or?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's that? What is it?
What
is your Instagram?
I just added it too.
Staci Nicole 11.
Okay.
Staci Nicole 11.
Okay. Maybe what we'll do is we'll put it in the bio.
Yeah. I think that's
this.
what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then if you're listening to this, and you can message us on our Instagram if you can't get a hold of you, and we'll figure it out. That's a lot to digest.
I know.
For the second time. I mean, you've told me this before. Do you think when you say spiritual coach, is that a God vibe, or is that what does that entail?
So everyone views God as something different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. You know, everyone has their beliefs. I view it as source, and whatever you want to view that as someone in the sky, as whatever that is for you. It's different for everybody. So I just cater to whomever I am working with and whatever they need at the time. It could be something is just sitting there having a conversation. Like, am I okay? Is my marriage okay? Am I going to be okay? Or as something as deep as, hey, can you follow my husband? I think he's having an affair.
Oh, so you do that too?
I do that too.
Oh,
yeah.
You probably do that for free, right?
I mean, yeah. I'm going to school for that. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to have that license. So I'm like, well, I can.
So you're going to catch them doing stuff, and
I've
then
caught a lot.
And then you get them on that, and then now you got to sit in my chair, and we got to talk about what I found out.
Yes.
That's genius.
Wow. So yeah, you're kind of a PI too over here then also, yeah.
So I'm in school for criminal justice, which is what I want to do. I would like to really have my spiritual coaching, but also with PI work, because I feel they kind of go hand in hand. Because when you do deliver this information to people, and a lot of the time it is cheating. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, crap. Like, dang it, I wish you weren't doing that, But you're like, okay, take the picture. You do these things, and some of them are wild. And you're like, what the hell? You're like, oh, God. So you have me there to go, okay, this is what I found something, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk through it. And sometimes they need time to process it, obviously. But other times, like, oh, I knew it already. Like, I figured. You're just confirming it. But now how do I get through it? And then we work through it. And everyone is different.
So you catch the problem and fix the problem.
Yes.
That's cool. And I feel like, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say just the thing that seems to be different from what I'm thinking of when I think of a life coach. It seems like more life coaches care about is motivation and do this, listen to what I'm telling you, where it sounds like you're almost more supportive than you are instructive, that you're more a matter of, listen, you're doing these things. I think you should consider doing this. It seems like it's more of a therapy more than it is really just, because there's a lot of life coaches that I frankly think are just in it for themselves. They don't give a crap about their clients. They just care about results.
Yeah.
They care about getting more money. They care about that. But I think you actually care about the people you're dealing with, that you and that's hard because you bring that home with you. You bring home the pain that they're going through, that you see, that you can't help. And so once again, difficult. Like, you always seem to have these difficult things that you're dealing with, but but you do it with a smile. You came out on top. I mean, you fucking won. Like, as far as I'm concerned, you went through a lot of shit, and you're better because of it. There's a lot of people that get dragged down and just never get better because of it. There's a lot of people that I see. I mean, I watch, Steve Wilkos show is one of my favorites, but
Wait, is that the Jerry Springer guy?
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. So he has his own show where he does mostly lie detector tests is his big thing. But like, you see these moms that haven't seen their kids in 20, 30, 40 years. Some of them have just, a lot of them, like, it was a drug issue and they got into drugs hardcore, and they cared more about the drugs than their kids. And I don't think that was ever the case with you.
Never.
I think you were just lost in the fog more than anything else. But then once it hit you, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my kids. It's time to reevaluate, adjust, change course and move forward. And I think that's the most important thing. So many people say, no, just run through the wall. Well, I can just walk around the wall. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like you kind of did that you went through a wall and you said, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to go around the wall. So more power to you. I have to ask something because this is fascinating to me. I've only known a couple people who have died and come back. Sorry, I know this is a difficult subject, but
it's okay.
I knew this was coming.
But
It's okay. Please ask me, because I'm at this point where I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things. One, I do want to know if you remember anything after passing away and before you came to, and also, do you remember sort of going out? You know what I mean? Like, do you remember taking all these pills and sitting there and then all of a sudden you're awake? Or do you remember like this feeling of, oh my gosh, like it's happening? Like, was there anything like that?
So when I was, I guess, dead, it was black.
Yeah.
I think I was so far gone at that point that, you know, I believe in spirit, and I believe that we have a spirit and we have a body. I do believe that. And I think my spirit was like, I'm not there.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't me. I don't know what's going on, but it was black for me. But it's oddly enough, I now remember taking the pills. At the time, I did not remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do remember taking them, and I remember collapsing, and I remember the feeling or the thought. It was kind of both. And it was odd because I was laying there. I'm like, oh shit, I'm dying. And this is going to sound weird, but this is what happened for me. This is my experience. I kind of remember looking at myself.
Yeah. The out of body experience.
Yeah. And going, oh shit. And then it was black. It was like black. And then I kind of, I heard like commotion, and I remember looking, but I wasn't in my body. It was weird. Like, I saw myself, but I was outside of myself.
Yeah.
And looking over, and then I saw like my friend and her daughter kind of running in, and then it was black.
This is not dissimilar from what I hear from most people, that it's your body goes into shock at some point, so you don't actually feel the release. But that's amazing that you have since kind of rekindled and remembered what happened. And like I say, I'm sorry to go over that, but
Oh, it's okay.
I just don't think that I'm never, that I'm going to meet a bunch of people where I could just be like, oh yeah, tell me all about, like, this is a unique situation. I did know, I used to work with a guy where a situation happened like that to him too. He was in a real bad state, and I think he crashed his car, but he did come to eventually, came out of it, and he was just a totally changed man. You could see everything about him was different. I didn't know him before, but just everything I'd heard from people and things like that. And obviously you're a changed woman because of it too. I mean, I feel like you were doing some good things before, but yeah, right. But it definitely changed your worldview, your way of just interacting in daily life. And so, like I say, it's really hard because we don't ever want someone to have to deal with the things that you've dealt with. But what we do want is that someone who does deal with it can come out of it because they have the support that they need. And some people just don't have that support. And I mean, it sounded like you had at least your sister to rely on for a while. You had some other people, but now that your sister's not here, who is your support system? Is it your kids? Is it your
Well, my kids, of course.
Yeah.
My mom and my best friend, Chelsea.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I know Chelsea. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom, she's my rock. We're really close. And then Chelsea,
Chelsea's awesome. So
yeah, she's my right hand.
And then, so we talked about a lot of heavy things, right? Like, and if there's a young girl or someone struggling with addiction, what would you tell them now that you know what you know? I know, like, you obviously you're hardcore, you're like, just cut it cold turkey. But if you could do it all over again, or if you had a little sister and they're struggling with with addiction, what would you or where would you tell them to go? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like a realistic, do you go to the hospital, or you tell them to go here, or where do you go for addiction? Like,
well, at first, it depends on where they're at in their addiction and how far they are into it. But if it was, I would be like, I'm here. I am here. I am here for you. And no one told me that, really. I mean, my sister did, but she was going through things too. So I was not, I guess I wasn't really receptive to it. I don't know, because I don't really remember anyone ever saying, hey, I'm here, because they didn't know what to do with me. I was just like, everyone thought I was just crazy. No one knew what I was really taking. So if I knew someone and they were going through a mental illness or, addiction, first thing I would say is, hey, I'm here for you and there is help. And there are things you can do, but the one thing I will tell you is if they don't want it, if they don't want the help, you can't force it. It's like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it.
It's like an intervention. They do the intervention. The guy doesn't want to go. And it's like, waiting for the paragraph to say 30 days later, he leaves treatment. And, it's like a 50-50 shot with that show.
Yeah. And I would, I would also tell them, because I felt very alone, I remember, and I would say, you're not alone. Like, I wish somebody had told me that at that time. Like, hey, Staci, you're not alone. You're not alone. I'm here. But no one did. And I feel a lot of people who go through mental illness, addiction, they feel very alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially not to just say younger people, but I feel the way that it affects younger people is a little different because they're, new in life and they're trying to figure it out and it's not going the way.
Well, their hormones are raging too.
Yeah. So. And so they're just like, I just, being bullied, whatever they're going through, they just can't handle it, but they're not alone. And if someone had just said, Staci, you're not alone, I'm here, I feel like that would have done something. And
there's all kinds of programs, right? If you're like, I need help, you can just Google.
There's Al-Anon, there's AA, there's CODA, which is like codependency, because it all kind of factors in, to what you grew up. You grew up in a household that was addiction, like I did. And so it's like, what,
And I think what do you do? I think it's different too with mental illness. I think is it like Men's Mental Awareness Month or something like that? I read somewhere on Instagram. I could be way off. But I feel with men, we are taught to push it down, not tell anyone, be strong for everyone else. So I think that's the hard part. When men struggle with mental illness, it's even worse because the girls, you can be vulnerable. Guys, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to keep it together. You're supposed to just shut your mouth and go to work and just not let anything faze you. You're supposed to be the strong one. And that's really hard to watch. We've had a couple friends, go through suicide and it's hard. Like when I have stuff going on, we actually got to go to a funeral in a couple weeks, one of our good buddies, but it's hard because I feel like my life, I have all these friends. I have, you look at social media, I'm having the time of my life. Have all these great friends, but there's a lot of time. It's just me and these dogs, these two little, whatever they are.
Your babies.
But there's so much perception, especially with social media now that, you got everything. You got so many people and Tim, he's so funny and everyone loves him. But when shit hits the fan in our lives, it's usually him and I, or if he's not here, it's just I'm dealing with it by myself. He's dealing with him. So I feel if there's any guy, because a lot of guys watch this compared to women, I feel like it's tough. It really is tough to just, it's not the manly thing to do. Is be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. It's like a kick in the gut. Even just talking about it, I'm like, man, I hope I never have to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough.
Well, I feel like that's why I had 4 boys. Because I talk to them and I'm like, it's okay to feel. And it is. And I know that you're taught not to, like, be strong, gotta be a man. And you can still be a man, but you can still feel and say, hey, I'm not okay. And I tell my boys that, my oldest, Scott, he'll be 17. He's, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And we're really close. So we have that, but I've kept that relationship with him to be open. I'm not like, oh, spill your feelings to me. Obviously, he's not going to do that. And if he does, okay, I'm here to listen. But to know it's okay. So I know for men, it's different, because you guys are taught, hey, take care of business.
For the most part, and I do think it depends on your stage, where you're set. So for instance, talking about your boys, I would assume your oldest boy, is at times feels that I need to deal with something more stoically than, say, the younger boys would, because I don't want, you know, my reaction to make them feel worse. This is something I dealt with when I was lead teacher at a school district at this aftercare program that I had. We had a crazy lightning storm that came up, right? And I reacted to this thunderclap. I went, oh, geez, like that, right? And that scared the crap out of these kids, right? Because when they saw me react to it, oh my gosh, he doesn't even know how to deal with this thing, you know? And so that was one of those things where I go, okay, I need to be calm in these situations, even though maybe inside I'm not, you know, fireworks are going off, but I'm just like, okay, what are we going to do here? But that is one of the tough things. And then like, I just also saw this one post where this guy, you know, was talking to this girl about something. She's like, I need you to, you know, show your feelings more, stuff like that. And so then he does, and she goes, I can't be with someone who cries, you know? It's like, wait a minute, you just told me you wanted me to let this out, you know? And I do think that's one of the things that men, that, you know, yes, we are more violent, but part of the reason is because we bury things down deep. And I know that used to happen to me. I was always one of those people. I'm like, all right, I'm going to turn my cheek. I'm going to, you know, turn this way. And then what would happen is I would take it all out on the very next person who did something that was minimal. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things where I'm just like, oh, you know, angry. But it's hard for us, I think, more so to communicate. That's one of those things. Women are far better communicators. They look at, you know, the vocabulary. Women's vocabulary is far greater than men's typically. I think they use something like 5 times as many words in the average day than a man does. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's true.
No, yeah. I
and
mean,
not even just using more, but like men are using the same 20 words over and over again 100 times, whereas women are using different words and things like that because they can express different feelings, where with us it's pretty much
want to.
Yeah,
guys don't want to.
But that's what I'm saying. With us, it's pretty much all anger, happy, hungry. That's about it. There's like a few other things in between, but that's about it. But yeah, that can be difficult, you know. And so I think it's important sometimes. Like, I feel more comfortable telling how I feel to females. You know, I feel like my mom was always my person that I could confide in things to, and I think that makes sense. Do you find that most of your clients are male, female? Is it sort of a little bit everything?
So I got to a point where I wasn't taking male clients because of an experience that I had with one. And so I was kind of like, oh, like, have you heard that TikTok trend where it's like, you know, if you were like in a forest or like lost.
Yeah, the bear or the man.
Like, I would, like, at the time, like, I was like, oh, the bear. You know, a lot of women pick the bear, and that's really sad because there's a lot of really good men out there, and there's 2 right here in front of me. So,
yeah, you've never seen
maybe one
and a half.
You've never seen my cave.
But no, there are, and so
Well, you can't see a guy one-on-one. Like, there's no way.
No, it's.
You
No.
can't.
Yeah, it's
especially if he's going through a divorce and then this cute girl comes and like
you're the support.
wants to talk, and like, no,
that's
not happening.
The one guy that I did, he was I was renting my office from her, and it was very inappropriate. And I was very uncomfortable. I was like, oh shit, and I told her. And she didn't believe me.
It was the...
So I had my office, and it was her building, and I was renting my office from her.
Okay.
And it was her boyfriend at the time. They're now married. And she's like, can you do a session for him? And I'm like, oh, yeah. You know, he was really friendly, nice guy. No.
Very friendly.
Too friendly.
Yeah.
And it was inappropriate. And I told him that. And I said, what you're doing is not okay. I'm not comfortable. Please stop. He wouldn't listen. I said, you need to stop. And then it became this situation where I told her about it, and she didn't believe me. Showed her messages. She's like, those aren't real. I'm like, oh, you're just delusional.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I was like, I'm just not going to take on male clients because I got uncomfortable. I didn't know how to. Now, if I had, I don't know, a bodyguard or something there, it'd be different. Or if it was like via Zoom or a phone call, that'd be different. Because I do a lot of clients are on the phone.
And it's funny. We have a life coach, relationship coach. She only deals with male clients.
Yeah.
Because giving relationship advice, she feels, this isn't my words, but I agree a little bit, but they're just easier to deal with.
No, yeah.
You tell men what to do and they tend to listen, is I think what she said.
Well,
yeah.
I would agree. I don't know who that is, but I would agree because it's true. We attach emotion to everything. Yep. And so we
should get everyone together and do
a life coach fight.
Yeah, no, have Alicia
battle.
here and then have you guys all here together. I think it'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Life coach battle to the death.
Yeah.
Right?
Death coach. No,
Because
yeah.
we all view things differently, and I feel with women, like I said, like we attach emotion to almost everything.
Yeah.
Do
Whereas
we have
men
any
are
other
like, no.
coaches or does Anthony, he does coaching, doesn't he?
I mean, there's a couple people that I feel they said that was like part of the thing that they did was also the life coaching, but yeah, I mean, no one else that I know of where that's their main thing, where that's what they do. But yeah, I'm just curious. When did you join the Black Eyed Peas? What part of that process?
You know?
No, because I was doing background work on you, Staci Ferguson, and it kept popping up that like, oh my gosh, Staci, Fergie, like Fergie, long time. So
It's my alter ego.
okay,
Yeah.
it's hard
Talk
work.
about that.
It's hard work balancing all that stuff and
know.
also performing with Will I
Be a
Am.
performer, right?
I have a story with Fergie, actually.
Fergalicious.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, do you?
I do. Not, I mean, wish, but not like that. But I was,
sure?
I was 22 or 23. I grew up with the Brady's, so his parents are best friends. We had his dad on here and all that, and
The senior.
Senior was on here.
The original Tom.
and we went to go watch Tommy play the Eagles in Jacksonville. I forget what Super Bowl it was, like 2003
3, I think.
or 4, and they won the Super Bowl.
30
And
years ago.
yeah, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
How many years?
Sorry.
It was almost
20
20 years
years
ago. Yeah,
30?
20 years ago.
30?
2020.
Oh, 20. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 90s. My bad.
And
Yeah,
so
20.
we're at the after party, and I don't know, like I'm a young guy at that point, like early 20s, and she was like the sex symbol on every commercial, and she was it. And she played for they had the after party for the Patriots, and there was only a couple hundred people, and I'll never forget, like there was like finger foods. I'm like, this Robert Kraft is so cheap. Like he just won the Super Bowl. He's this billionaire, and I look at the spread. I'm like, really? Like, but anyway, so I got over that. I see Deion Branch in the corner. He had just won the MVP, and no one was around him. He was just sitting there, like with his little finger foods, like
by himself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he just won the MVP. I was just like, wow, he's just
Yeah.
a normal guy. And then on stage it's Fergie, and I'm just there like 10 feet away, just looking up, like, oh my gosh,
In awe.
Yeah, that was my Fergie story.
I thought you talked to her a little bit too. Didn't she have like a
No.
Mustang or something? I thought. No, okay.
No, I
thought
never talked to her.
I thought you had a chance to.
No.
It must have been an
His dreams.
interview.
It was his dream.
No, I was going to say I saw it in
Yeah.
an interview. She was talking about that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I had a Mustang too. That's awesome." Blah blah blah. But
Yeah, I wish. No, I wouldn't know. I'd be like,
It was
yeah.
a dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
Your dream state.
This was after she had gone solo too, right? Fergalicious
I don't
and
remember.
Glamorous and all that stuff. I think was going off at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know for the longest time her name was Stacy. Because
Yeah.
I heard Fergie, and that was my name in high school.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
called me Fergie, and
Fer?
yeah, like, and then I
Yifka.
was like, wait, her
Yiffer.
name was, wait, I'm sorry, her name is State. Wait,
Oh,
what? I was
should
like,
I
oh.
tell my? Can we say the FK?
Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time the audience
I
knows
don't
about
know.
yes.
So this is highly inappropriate, first of all.
It is, but this is what we do best. I think. Is,
So
You're gonna say it anyway.
with that being said, I'm going to say it now. So when we were 12 years old, we had this guy named Steve McAllister. And so all the guys, I've known him since I was 13, and all our friends I've known starting at 8 years old to 13 for my whole life. So they all live out here as like a group of like 25 of us. And we're
Okay.
still pretty close. We still in contact, hang out. He had red hair. So we would scream in Little League. We would call him Fire Crotch.
Oh, Jesus.
This is the worst, right?
This is where we're going.
And then we're going here.
Yes.
And then
I know where this
and then we would say, instead of FC, we would go FK, because FK sounds better. Like when you yell YFK like that, we would yell it from
Hey, FK.
we would yell it
Hey, FK. Yeah,
over and
FK.
over again. That hasn't stopped. That was 30 years ago. I'm not even joking. I have my family on my family vacation. I'm not joking. Like a month ago, there's 10 of us. My brother-in-law's a pastor. He's like shaking his head like, you idiots. My mom, my dad's 76. And if you see some of the red hair, he's yelling YFK the whole
And that's the best part, because you say F, it doesn't sound like anything. It's completely natural, but that's, it would change. It was like, oh, the F, oh, the F, the
And
FK, so that became
and
a
you went
thing.
with red hair?
And then
Yeah.
our good friend Patrick Doppelmayr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came in our lives
Red as
7 years,
fuck.
and he is bright red, and we just we don't stop. We like, oh, it was 80 degrees out, and then you came out, and now it's 103, and then like the sauna's broke. They're like, oh, Patrick, just step into it.
Pour a little hot water over him.
So we've
Create
had
some steam.
We've had a lot of fun with people with the red hair, so we're appreciative of it. And but my whole family. There's 12 of us yelling FK through like Universal Studios, through just
to random redheads.
And the redheads have no idea that we're talking about them. We're not going like, hey, Ginger, or anything like that. We're just going, hey, yeah.
Ginger, everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, they have no one knows but us. And then, like I said, my brother-in-law is a head pastor of a Baptist church, and he has his kids yelling fire crotch, and he has his head down like, you idiots. Like, this is my family. It's pretty funny.
It doesn't mean anything. It's just simply red. You're EFK. Like, it's not.
Well, I'm glad we're ending things on this note. We went from like some really serious stuff, talking about redheads,
fire crotch,
fire crotch, suicide to fire crotch, and smooth transition. But we just want to thank you for being a good sport, and I know this was heavy on your heart to say this, and we appreciate it. We thank you for being vulnerable, and hoping someone can listen to this, and maybe someone's in that state that you were in, and like if Staci can do it, with 3 kids, then 4 kids, they can do it. And then Staci, do we figure out your handle? Is it at Staci?
It's at Staci Nicole 11.
Okay, so if you want coaching from a pro, and she's been through it, folks, she's the one. Or if you want to catch your husband cheating, she's also the one.
Or your wife.
Or wife. No, then you can't talk to the guy anymore, because you've already gone down that road.
I mean, there's women that have wives too. So
Ooh,
that's true. There you go. That is true. That is true.
So
if you're looking for any of her services, she's available. But thank you for coming on, and we're excited to see what the future brings for you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Right.
Awesome.
Glad we could, make you no longer a podcast virgin over here.
I know.
We were gentle. We took it slow.
Thank you.
Thank you.